Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. And the momentum lasted all of 1 week. Because, we get to the Charlotte ROVAL, and it's honestly not an entertaining race at all. I mean, I guess the ending run was pretty good because you had Byron trying to catch AJ Allmendinger and snipe another win, but that did not happen. And AJ Allmendinger gets just his third career Cup Series victory, and he was extremely emotional about it in Victory Lane because you never know when the next one is going to be, or if this is the last one. But that's not the main focus of this review. The schedule finally came out, and it's a pile of shit. NASCAR also made the decision to bring back stage cautions for the road course this week. That was stupid. And then there were the penalties that were handed down to Nick Sanchez and Matt Crafton, which I have a major problem with. We're going to be getting into all that and more, so saddle up and lock and load. This is probably going to be a long episode. So, let's get into it. This is The Fuel. This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PackerMan to save 10% on any order. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to today's edition of The Fuel. Where today we're going to review the 2023 Bank of America ROVAL 400 from Charlotte Motor Speedway's ROVAL, or infield road course, if you will. The race, I guess, was okay for the most part. I mean, it was not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would call it a bit lackluster. It was much better than last year's edition, I'll tell you that much. But that's not what's really going to be the focus of this episode. You've already seen the title of this episode. NASCAR's decision making sucks ass. Because we basically came out of what was, in my opinion, the best race of 2023 by a fucking country mile. And the absolute momentum that creates, and it just all came to a dead stop. Because of some of the dumbass decision making that NASCAR makes. First of all, there's three major decisions that I want to talk about that I think just absolutely suck ass. The first of which was bringing back the stage cautions for the Charlotte ROVAL. And a lot of us were just asking why. Things were fine as they were without the cautions, and Elton Sawyer's response was, well, we wanted to have all of the playoff races have the same rule set. The same rule set? Are you fucking serious? Like, that is one of the lamest excuses I've ever heard come out of his mouth. I'm going to touch on Elton Sawyer a little bit later. But you had a case during this race where the caution came out as Chase Elliott was getting ready to come to pit road, was forced to stay out. Went in stage 2, but loses all of his track position. He went back to like 26th. I mean, is that supposed to happen? Pretty bullshit, in my honest opinion. But that's honestly kind of a minor thing compared to the other two things that I wanted to talk about, and that was the 2024 Cup Series schedule and the dumb shit that was the penalties assessed to Matt Crafton, or the lack thereof, if you will. And we're going to be getting into all of that. So, let's see. Do I have that? There we go. Right. So, transform, stretch the screen. I'll move me to the side right here. This is going to cover up the stream bar a little bit, but it'll be alright. So here's what the 2024 schedule looks like. So we have only one new race during this season, and that's at Iowa on 6/16. This schedule is just a pile of shit because, I mean, there were a lot of things that were rumored about this schedule and stuff that we wanted to see, and NASCAR just decides to sit on their hands and say, nah, we're good with what we got. So we have the Clash at the Coliseum on February the 4th, the duels on Thursday the 15th, and then the Daytona 500 as per the usual on President's Day weekend on February the 18th. At least I believe it's President's Day weekend. What is President's Day? President's Day 2024. Yes, it is on President's Day weekend. Alright. Just wanted to confirm that. So, you have the Daytona 500 on February the 18th. And this is just terrible scheduling. Because look at what the second race of the year is. Atlanta Motor Speedway. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Why are we starting the year with 2 drafting races? That literally makes no goddamn sense. Not to mention the fact that Atlanta in February, right at the tail end of winter, is going to be cold as shit. I don't know. It's just terrible scheduling. And then you go into the West Coast swing, which isn't really much of a West Coast swing anymore because you don't have Auto Club anymore. So the only 2 races are Vegas and Phoenix. Phoenix still has 2 dates for whatever reason. I mean, there are several tracks on this schedule, like 6 in total, that should not have a second date. Atlanta does not need a second date. Vegas, I would argue maybe because, I mean, over the past couple years, it's proven to be one of the best mile and a halves on the schedule. Although the spring race this year wasn't that good, which surprised the hell out of me. But I would argue, because it's Vegas, it would be one of the only tracks that would be allowed 2 dates. Phoenix on March the 10th, it does not need 2 dates. It has the championship date for some reason. And then March the 17th, Bristol is going back to concrete for both of its dates, so no dirt race next year. A lot of us were expecting, to have at least one dirt race, but have it be at an actual dirt track, and NASCAR was like, nah. Michigan race this year, he gave a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because it was actually pretty damn good. But it's not a drafting race. It's not a super speedway race like the fucking Daytona Atlanta dates are. Honestly, I think Michigan going to just one date has significantly helped it. But Bristol does not deserve a second date, because let's be honest here, the spring date does not sell out at all. Like, it looks basically just fucking bare bones. And honestly, this new car has absolutely ruined the racing at Bristol. I mean, we've had back-to-back years where the night race was pretty fucking lackluster, which is inexcusable, because for like the last 5-6 years before that, the Bristol night race was a contender for best race of the entire fucking year. I hate this new car. The Gen 7 car sucks dick. Anyway. You have Circuit of the Americas on March the 24th. Sakota remains on the schedule, which I agree with. Then Richmond on March the 31st. And then Martinsville on April the 7th. So again, the 3 main short tracks, we're going to have a 4th finally on the schedule next year, but we'll get to that. Richmond should not have a second date because it's not selling out like it used to, and the racing there has been pretty lackluster. Martinsville, I would argue, should remain at 2 dates because it is the last remaining charter track on the schedule. And what I mean by that is it has been on every single Cup Series schedule ever. Since 1949, it's had at least 1 date on the Cup Series schedule. That's crazy that it has that on. So, I would argue that Martinsville should keep 2 dates. It'd be one of the only tracks to do so. Then they've moved Texas completely out of the playoffs, which, I'll be honest, the Daytona 500 and Coda could have been classics, but all the cautions and overtimes ruined the finishes. Exactly. I mean, I made that point now back when I did those reviews. The 500 could have been an all-time classic. Circuit of the Americas could have been an all-time classic, but the fucking overtimes and cautions and stupid-ass wrecks at the end just completely ruined it. Ruined both races. Ruined the Talladega Spring race, too. All 3 of those races could have been classics. Absolutely sucks. Texas on April the 14th got completely moved out of the playoffs. I guess they want to move it to slightly cooler weather because the race this year was in 100-degree weather. There was a little bit more fans that came out, which I salute you fans for sticking it out because that is some brutal ass weather. Honestly, I think they should just sweep Texas off the schedule entirely because it's a broken fucking track. It's garbage. But that's neither here nor there. Talladega on April 21st, so that's normal. Dover on April the 28th. Dover is one of the worst tracks on the schedule, but at least it's only 1 date. You got Kansas on May the 5th. Kansas is another one of those tracks that should not have 2 dates. Some people have been saying that it's the best mile and a half on the circuit. It's not. I think Las Vegas has that title. So Kansas should not have 2 dates. Darlington should not have 2 dates, because it's on May the 12th for its first date. Darlington should not have 2 dates. I don't know how the hell Atlanta and Darlington both got their second dates back, because at one point they were down to 1 date, and then now they've all of a sudden gotten their second dates back, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever. A lot of people were expecting North Wilkesboro to get a points date, especially since they're now repaving the track, which, let's be honest here, it needed to be done. The last time they repaved North Wilkesboro was 1981. So, I mean, that asphalt was completely falling apart. I mean, as much as it was lending to great tire wear and all that other stuff, it needed to be repaved. I mean, it was just inevitable. But a lot of people were expecting it to have a points date and the All-Star race be shifted to another legacy track, Rockingham. That was another thing that people were hoping. But no, North Wilkesboro is just relegated back to being the All-Star race again. I mean, which is fine, but I mean, at some point you gotta give North Wilkesboro a points date, because they're selling that fucking place out. They even sold the truck race out, which is insanity. You're a little surprised that Watkins Glen is going to be a playoff race. I'm going to be getting to that. And of course, naturally, you have the Coca-Cola 600 on May the 26th, Memorial Day weekend. That's to be expected. And we go to Gateway on June the 2nd. I'm just going to be completely honest here. Gateway is one of the worst tracks on the schedule. I mean, this is only going to be its 3rd year on the schedule, but my God, the first 2 races in Cup with Gateway have been absolutely atrocious. Especially this year. This year was fucking dog shit. Of course, it doesn't really help that it's a 1.25 mile egg-shaped oval and it's flat. I mean, that's not exactly going to lend very many opportunities for good passing. And both of the races at Gateway have been absolutely fucking awful. I mean, there were a lot of people that were excited when it finally got onto the schedule in 2022, but let's be honest here, Gateway sucks. It's one of the worst new tracks on the schedule. That's just how I feel about it. And then here's something that doesn't make any fucking sense. Sonoma on June the 9th. Why are we putting Sonoma back into its, regular slot? I mean, you had a slot open for the West Coast Swing. With Auto Club not being on the schedule next year, that left the slot open. You could have slotted Sonoma into the West Coast Swing. And I say that because, have you seen pictures of that track in late winter, early spring, during the wet season? I remember some pictures that I saw when IndyCar used to test there in the spring. It was lush green fields. I mean, it was a gorgeous looking racetrack with the green fields. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't we switch Sonoma to the spring? Not only would it be a lot friggin' cooler, which would be, I think, a lot more preferable for the fans that go in attendance there, but I think a lot more people would show up because of that. I honestly think this is what, I mean, when you look at the attendance, I mean, it looks like not very many people go to this race at all. I think a lot of that has to do with the damn weather. It's just too goddamn hot. But no, NASCAR decided we're just going to slot it back into its usual slot. That's bullshit. I mean, absolutely fucking short-sighted by NASCAR. Absolutely fucking short-sighted. And then you have the new track coming to the schedule. Iowa Speedway, which is basically a slightly longer version of Richmond. Why do we need another Richmond? We don't. But that's being slotted in on June the 16th, which is when NBC takes over. But why Iowa Speedway? This almost feels like a plan B of sorts, and it's not a very good plan B, truth be told. Because this was the slot that should have been reserved for Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I mean, I don't know how they managed to let talks fall through on that one, but I mean, you want to talk about a fucking letdown of the highest order. Instead of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which during the 6 years that the Xfinity Series went there, every single one of them races were bangers. I mean, I was legitimately excited when I heard that Montreal was being strongly considered for the 2024 schedule. I was like, sign me the fuck up. Like, that would have been my most anticipated race of 2024. But instead, we get Iowa fucking Speedway. A track that NASCAR has not been to in any of its 3 divisions since 2019. So why the fuck would they go back now? This honestly feels like an option of last resort. Out of all the fucking tracks that you could have gone to, you went to Iowa? Like, who fucking cares about Iowa Speedway? Absolute fucking nonsense. Like, I am not a fan of this move whatsoever. Just an absolute kick in the fucking nuts. Then you have New Hampshire on June the 23rd. Nashville Super Speedway on June the 30th. Nashville, I guess they're going back to a daytime start for this, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Because going to nighttime actually improved the fucking racing. So why would you go back to the daytime? Then you have the Chicago Street Race once again on July the 7th. You have Pocono, July the 14th. Then Indianapolis, the Brickyard 400 is returning. We had 3 years of the road course. And they decided that the experiment was not really working, so they decided to go back to the oval, which will be the first time that the Gen 7 car will officially race the Brickyard 400. So we'll see if the car actually improves the racing there, or if it's just dog shit as per usual. And then there's actually a 3-week break between races because of the Olympics in Paris in 2024. So next 2 weeks they get basically what amounts to F1's version of the summer break, which honestly, this is something that they should be doing every year anyways. I mean, this is such a grueling fucking schedule. I mean, the least you can do is have more than one fucking off weekend per year. So I would institute a summer break for these teams and drivers, midway through the season. Let them take a 2-week break, recharge the batteries, get things in order, and then re-rack them for the second half of the year. Then after we get back from the Olympic break, is the second Richmond race on August the 11th. Then you have Michigan on August the 18th. Daytona for 2024 is not going to be the regular season finale this time around because of the Olympic breaks. So, because they want to keep Darlington on Labor Day weekend. So Daytona is going to be relegated to race 25. And for the 2024 season, Darlington, the Southern 500, is going to be the regular season cutoff. Okay. Then we come to the playoffs, and this is where I really question the fucking scheduling, because it was bad enough that we had one drafting race in this championship. Now we have two, because they moved the second Atlanta race from July to September as the opening round of the playoffs. Makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And this one kind of baffles me. Watkins Glen has been moved into the playoffs. I mean, I'm all for having more road courses in the playoff. I mean, if we're gonna have this stupid fucking playoff format, you know, having a second road course, I mean, is fine because you want to have these, you know, you want to challenge these drivers if they really are the best all-around drivers. You know, having just one road course just really wasn't cutting it. So having two in the playoff, I'm okay with that. It's gonna be a little weird because Watkins Glen has always been an August date, and now it's going to be in September. So it's going to be a bit of a culture shock, to say the least. And then, of course, you have the Bristol Night Race on September the 21st, you know, its usual spot. And then for the round of 12, you have Kansas on September the 29th, Talladega on October the 6th, and then the Charlotte Roval on the 13th. A lot of people were wanting 2 Charlotte Oval races for 2024. And my question to you is, what the fuck are you smoking? The 500-mile race in Charlotte in the fall was one of the most forgettable races of all time. Literally nobody gave a fuck about that race. You know, nobody gave a fuck about the second Charlotte race until it was made into the Roval, which made it unique. I mean, you want to take that uniqueness away because of 2 lackluster races, because of this stupid ass fucking car, and go back to an oval race that nobody gives a flying fuck about? How fucking stupid can you be? Pretty much the rest of the schedule is the same as this year's. You have the round of 8 at Las Vegas. I mean, after Watkins Glen, the schedule remains the same for the rest of the year as it is this year. You had Bristol, Kansas, Talladega, Charlotte Roval, and then round of 8, Las Vegas, Homestead, Miami, and Martinsville, and then Phoenix as the championship on the 10th as opposed to the 3rd because of the Olympics. Now, all these dates are pretty much the same because 2024 is a leap year. So, because of the extra day, all these dates are going to be the same. It's going to be weird with 2 super speedway races in the playoffs. It's fucking stupid is what it is. I mean, one was already chaotic enough, but you're going to have one open the damn playoffs. Yeah, I'm honestly not a fan of this schedule. I mean, it's pretty much the same as this year, except a few things have been moved around in not a good way. And instead of getting Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, we got Iowa. Yeah, I mean, for as long as it took for this damn schedule to come out, I mean, we had to wait all the way to October for this damn schedule to come out, and then we get this. Easily one of the most disappointing schedule reveals in the last 10 years. Especially with what we've come to expect out of NASCAR in this decade. I mean, look at 2021. I mean, that was probably the best schedule reveal of all time in NASCAR. Because there were so many new dates, so many new tracks we were going to. The schedule was finally getting a nice, good shake-up. I mean, now it seems like we're falling back into that, you know, stale shit. You know, with people wanting to go back to the oval for Charlotte. You know, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? So yeah, that's the schedule. Not a fan of it. What I'm also not a fan of is how NASCAR handled the whole Matt Crafton, Nick Sanchez deal last week at Talladega. Now, as a refresher, what happened between the two was, near the end of the race, Crafton opened up the middle lane off of turn 4. Sanchez tried to fill the gap. Crafton comes down and basically turns himself off of Sanchez's front bumper. Crafton is none too pleased about it. And we should have known his intentions and his state of mind when he decided to park his wrecked truck in Nick Sanchez's pit box and then just get out and walk away. And then he waits almost an hour after the race and basically finds Nick Sanchez and gives him what amounts to a sucker punch. Completely bloodies up Nick Sanchez. And even Denny Hamlin, who you all know I can't fucking stand, and I can't believe I'm going to be agreeing with him on this. But he basically said that Matt Crafton's side of the story, which we're going to be talking about, absolutely makes no goddamn sense. And he says that the only way that Sanchez would possibly have a broken nose, which is what Sanchez said, he felt like that his nose might have a slight break in it. I mean, the only way a 47-year-old would be able to get the drop on Sanchez like that is if Sanchez was caught off guard. And there were several eyewitness accounts to the whole thing, including Sanchez's mother, who happened to be walking behind Sanchez as they were heading back through the garage. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to put up the statement that Sanchez's mother posted on Facebook, and then we're going to go on to Twitter and show you Matt Crafton's side of the story, assuming he hasn't deleted it from Twitter. And then I'm going to let you know what the final decision was on all of this. And I mean, it literally made me shit my pants, because it's like, are you fucking kidding me? So, give me 1 second here. Yep, it is still up here. Alright. So we'll get to that here in a minute. So, here's the statement that Nick Sanchez's mother posted on Facebook. Sorry, I can hardly even fucking read that. There we go. Alright, so Shani Rosen Sanchez posted on Facebook, "Thank you to everyone for all the calls and texts after yesterday's race. Nick is doing good. We all really appreciate your concern and feel your love. For those who don't know what exactly happened, after the race, Nick and his PR right-hand lady, Christy, were walking next to each other back to his hauler. Renee and I were about 10 steps behind them." Renee is Sanchez's father, so actually both of his parents were walking along behind him. Then in a flash, another driver literally came out of nowhere. We think he was hiding behind some tires, then tapped Nick on his shoulder from behind. When Nick turned to see who it was, he then sucker punched Nick. Didn't say a word, no confrontation, just flat out blindsided him. The driver had already changed out of his fire suit into plain clothes to blend in with everyone else. Obviously, he was waiting for Nick to walk by. He had it planned. Like Nick said, it was a cheap shot. Anyone who knows Nick knows he's not an aggressor and would never do that to another driver or anyone else, but he didn't even have a chance to defend himself. As a parent, the last thing you expect to see is someone assault and attack your son right in front of you. It's hard to put into words. Sickening is an understatement. I don't know what else to say. I'm still shaken up and extremely sad. This was all because of an on-track incident which happens all the time. That's racing. After watching the video, most people are stating it wasn't Nick's fault, which it wasn't. Regardless of whose fault, to not even come up to Nick and talk about it and have a discussion is so classless and cowardly. Especially coming from a 47-year-old veteran driver who should be a role model. Yes, a 47-year-old driver taking a cheap shot at Nick. Now, it's long been known that Matt Crafton is a bit of a hothead. And, you know, obviously there's eyewitness account from his mother, which some people are like, I mean, it's his mother. She was walking directly behind the group. And there were several other people that had the same account. Now, one thing that was not mentioned here was that Renee actually kind of got into the fray as well and took a swing at Crafton, basically backing up his son, because that, as a parent, that's what you're fucking supposed to do. And Renee actually ended up getting suspended by NASCAR for the remainder of the season. I'll touch on that here in a minute. But here's what Matt Crafton had to say about the whole thing. So here is Matt Crafton's explanation of what happened. Here is what wasn't caught on video. First, let's address the sucker punch. Before the camera started rolling, I approached Nick and said, hey. When he turned around, I said, what the fuck? To which he looked right at me and threatened me. That is when it all went to hell. I had his attention, words were exchanged, all before anything physical took place, so I did not sucker punch the guy. There may not be video, but there were plenty of eyewitnesses. What people don't take into account is that he all but sucker punched me at 200 miles an hour. What? That makes no goddamn sense. The way he pushed my truck gave me no ability to get out of the situation. He was told multiple times during that race the way he was pushing people was going to cause a wreck and going to get people hurt. There's a consistent pattern of certain drivers having a lack of respect on the track, and it was time for someone to say something. Crafton, you opened up the middle lane, and when Sanchez filled that spot, you came down on him. So this whole thing about him all sucker punching you at 200 miles an hour is fucking bullshit. And that's all Matt Crafton is. He's a fucking bullshit artist. Am I proud that it got physical? No, but last time I checked, everyone on that track is a grown adult. Yeah, well, grown adults don't act like fucking pussies and attack people from behind. In fact, there was one person that tried to say, well, you know, if I have beef with you, then I'm not going to let you know when I'm going to attack you. I mean, basically, that person was basically admitting that he would commit premeditated assault, which is what this was. And I basically call that dude a fucking idiot and a scumbag, which he is. If a man looks at me and threatens me, I'm going to react, especially when tempers are already flared from being wrecked on the track. I apologize to my team, my sponsors and partners, my family, and the NASCAR community for the negativity and for taking away from a good day of racing at Talladega, which it wasn't. It was a fucking trash fest. But be that as it may. But Matt Crafton's story doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense. It doesn't. Why on God's green earth would Sanchez, I mean, in his post-race interview before the incident with Crafton in the garage happened, he basically said the same thing that I did. You know, it was just a racing incident. Why would Sanchez be aggressive over what he thought was a racing incident? It makes no goddamn sense. But you know what else doesn't make any goddamn sense? NASCAR's so-called penalties. They fined Sanchez $5,000. I mean, which is fine because of the death threats that he threw at Crafton after the fight, which I can kind of understand that. I mean, Sanchez really shouldn't be saying shit like that. But, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, what would you say in the heat of the moment after basically getting jumped like he did? But you know what Sanchez's penalty was? Or not Sanchez, but you know what Crafton's penalty was? For basically committing what amounts to premeditated assault, which is a felony, might I add. $25,000. You know what that is? A slap on the wrist. So let me get this straight. You suspend Nick Sanchez's father for getting involved, basically backing up his son. But you don't suspend Matt Crafton, who basically committed premeditated assault. As I said, Matt Crafton should have been on charges. I mean, I'm getting to that. I mean, forget the fact that Crafton should have been suspended for the rest of the season. The guy should be in fucking jail. Because premeditated assault is a fucking felony. And yet Elton Sawyer, in his great fucking wisdom, said, I mean, you know, he should have cooled down after an hour, but we're only going to give him a $25,000 fine. I mean, I swear to God, Elton Sawyer is one of the worst head officials in motorsports history. He is right up there with fucking Michael Massey and Brian Barnhart. I mean, what a fucking trio that is. What a trio of fucking 2-watt light bulbs that is. Actually, you know what? That would be an insult to 2-watt light bulbs because their combined IQ wouldn't even be high enough to pick up the fucking light bulb. I mean, it's no fucking wonder NASCAR has gone to complete shit this year. Because of fucking idiots like him. And because of fucking scumbags like Matt Crafton. NASCAR is a fucking joke. They are the fucking laughing stock of motorsports. I mean, you finally have momentum coming out of Talladega, which in my opinion was probably the best race of the entire fucking year. But we have to deal with all this stupid ass fucking bullshit decision making on NASCAR's part. NASCAR is a fucking joke. I swear to God, the day that Elton Sawyer and Matt Crafton retire from NASCAR will be a day worth fucking celebrating. And I hope it comes sooner rather than later. Fucking nonsense. That's what that is. Anyway, let's get to this fucking review. So I'm done with this shit. So, Reddick starts from the pole. Larson had to start from the rear of the field because he crashed in practice. Not really a whole lot happens in stage 1. Reddick ends up winning it. Whoop-de fucking do. But he stayed out for the points, so he ended up back in traffic for stage 2. Chase Elliott actually managed to wrestle the lead away from Bell, who actually led the start of stage 2 for a first pure lead change on lap 36. Suarez got shuffled coming out of the infield, going from 3rd to 6th by Allmendinger, Busch, and Gibbs. Ty Gibbs was actually looking pretty good in this race. And we had our first caution on lap 49 when Josh Bilicki gets sent into the wall by Corey LaJoie as the two are coming off of pit road. I mean, Corey LaJoie's, lack of spatial awareness this year has just been absolutely fucking unreal. Without a doubt, one of the most overhyped drivers of 2023. Elliott wins the stage under caution, but he wanted to come to pit road before the caution came out. and got absolutely fucked by the caution. Kyle Busch stays out and leads the start of stage 3. AJ Allmendinger moves up to second on the restart, gives back to third. Allmendinger starts challenging Busch for the race lead and takes it in the backstretch chicane for a second. Pure lead change on lap 58, and he basically leads the rest of the way. Truex tries to bull rush to the field. I mean, he has not had a top 15 finish in this entire playoff run. Yet because of all the playoff points that he's earned, he is into the round of 8. Wrap your head around that shit. So we have green flag pit stops beginning on lap 70. McDowell has a flat left for a tire and Hamlin spins to avoid him. Everyone comes in for service, and then we have our second caution on lap 76 when Hamlin spins on the front stretch chicane by himself, and Mike Rockefeller hits him in the right rear and breaks the toe link and ends Hamlin's day. The broadcast was talking about Truex getting new lucky socks at the start of the season, which was funny. Well, I mean, he's been kind of sleepwalking through the playoffs, so I don't know, maybe he'll wake up for the round of 8 and get into the championship 4, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, Hamlin gets knocked out of the race with this second caution, but he was already through to the round of 8 on points anyway, so it was kind of irrelevant. Allmendinger leads on the restart, but Gibbs gets a great jump on the restart, and actually takes the lead. Although Allmendinger gets it back as Austin Dillon and LaJoie spin in the infield. Here, third caution on lap 80 as Jarek Jones gets spun by Stenhouse in a 3-wide situation in the infield section, and McDowell plows into the 43. In addition to that, McDowell had power steering issues, so I mean his day had gone to shit very early on. And I was thinking, oh great, the descent to a total shit show begins. We had a restart on lap 83 at 3 wide going into the infield section. Bubba Wallace was getting extremely aggressive. Andy Lally spun out of turn 1 but was able to keep going. Well, for a minute, he thought he had gotten it off of the track and into the garage area, but he actually turned onto the exit of pit lane and actually stalled the car at the exit of pit road, so they had to throw the caution for that. Busch starts trying to challenge Gibbs for second on the ensuing restart. Austin Cindric gets spun by Suarez, who was trying to outbrake Bell and Larson in a 3-wide situation, but gets into Cindric, who also gets into Bubba Wallace. And here's another thing that doesn't make any sense. Bubba Wallace gets spun out in the chicane, but because he quote-unquote missed the chicane, had to come to a stop either on the back stretch or the front stretch, or he would have been penalized. Isn't it already enough of a penalty that he got spun out in the first place? I mean, he already lost all that fucking track position. What good is forcing him to come to a complete stop to serve the penalty? I mean, what fucking sense does that make? Oh, that's right, it doesn't make any fucking sense because NASCAR's rules fucking suck. NASCAR cannot get out of their own goddamn way. It's honestly revolting. Anyway, we have our fifth caution on lap 94 when Christopher Bell gets into Suarez going into turn 8, basically coming out of the infield section onto turn 1, and Suarez gets backed hard into the wall. So Suarez probably not going to be very happy with Christopher Bell. We have another restart on lap 97, but it's immediately aborted on our sixth and final caution when Ricky Stenhouse's car catches fire at the exit of pit lane. I hope it's not one of them crappy ass parts kind of deals, because his car looked pretty much unscathed. Yet it turned into a big old fireball. Filling the cockpit with smoke. I mean, yeah. Wouldn't exactly be a good situation, but then again, the construction of this car sucks dick, so it's not really a surprise. So Allmendinger leads on the restart with 10 laps to go. Kyle Busch spins the tires, which allows Byron through to second, and I'm thinking to myself, is Byron seriously going to snipe another one? I mean, most of the races that he's won this year, he's basically sniped from out of nowhere, and I'm thinking, is he really going to steal another one? I mean, there were points where he was actually faster than Allmendinger, so it's like, man, he's probably going to snipe another one. But Kyle Busch actually started closing in back in on the front too for a little bit, but dropped back eventually. But to AJ Allmendinger's credit, I mean, he had all the pressure on him with Byron probably, the best closer of the season, to say the least, trying to get his 7th win of the year. And but Allmendinger held him at bay to win at the Charlotte Roval. William Byron is like Matt Kenseth or Carl Edwards at the beginning of the race. Wasn't a factor, but he's right there at the end. Exactly. He's basically this year's version of Matt Kenseth. I mean, he's like a fucking stealth bomber. I mean, you may not see him at the beginning of the race, but by the end of it, he's right there contending for the win. I mean, he was right there at the end of the Talladega race as well. The dude's a fucking stealth bomber. He's a sniper. That should be his new nickname, the Sniper. Because he's been sniping a lot of these victories out of fucking nowhere. But anyway, I mean, the battle at the end between Allmendinger and Byron was pretty good. But the race overall was pretty lackluster. I don't remember if I did the race stats yet. I don't think I did. But we only had 7 overall lead changes in this race, which is a far cry from last week when we had 70 lead changes. But then again, it's a road course and it's a shorter race. 2 pure lead changes, 6 caution flags. There were actually 3,165 green flag passes, although honestly I think we could attribute that to the restarts and the fact that they moved the restart zone. Instead of going through the tri-oval or the quad-oval for the restarts, they actually went the normal route and actually did what they've been doing this year with the restart zone, is have a section where as soon as you reach the restart zone you can go and not have to worry about, passing before the line and all that other shit. And AJ Allmendinger led the most laps with 46 out of the 109 laps. As for my final rating for the 2023 Bank of America Roval 400, I mean, it was okay-ish, I guess. I mean, it had its good points, but a lot of this race, especially the first half, was a nothing burger. I mean, there wasn't anything really offensive. It was just, you know what I mean? But NASCAR really needs to get their shit together because a lot of their decision making as of late has been absolute fucking dog shit. I mean, they really do. But, I mean, this was an okay-ish race, and the finish was nice. I mean, we got, and of course, AJ Allmendinger winning and seeing that emotion in victory lane. I mean, I think it made up for it a little bit. It's still not enough to get above par for, what we've seen so far. But, I mean, it was okay-ish, I guess. So, I'm going to go on my Bret Hart shit and give it a 4 out of 10. I mean, it was an race. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was certainly a hell of a lot better than last year was. Last year was fucking atrocious, and I think I only gave that one a 2. So this was an improvement. Wasn't much of an improvement, but it is what it is. They really need to focus on making this car better, especially on the road courses and the short tracks, because I mean, they've completely ruined the racing on those types of tracks. I mean, the Gen 6, it was at its best on the road courses and the short tracks, which is why we wanted more of them to fucking begin with. And now all of a sudden we have this Gen 7 car that sucks on those types of tracks. They need to make some changes. But that's my opinion on the whole matter. But like I said, this episode went on for quite a while. Almost an hour, but had a lot of other shit to talk about aside from the race. So there you go. Programming note. Got 4 episodes of Spare Parts High Gear coming up this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at noon. Pre-recorded or edited down shit from the live streams for C-Class Warriors, or not C-Class Warriors, C-Class Heroes. There's a one-off event in there. I can't remember what it was. And the first week of Road Warriors. All those edited episodes will be coming out this week. As well as Flea Market Hunter on Saturday. I actually have it uploaded to my channel. It's just on private. I just completely forgotten about it. I haven't gotten a thumbnail made for it yet, but I'll get to that this week. And as for the next episode of Tornado Tales, well, good news, finally. I was finally able to record my bits for it, my talking bits for it today. Only thing I have left to do now is splice it together with all the other shit that I have. It's going to take some time because I recorded over an hour of talking bits. So I got to get all that edited down and all that other shit. So it's going to be a job, to say the least. If I don't get it out this week, it'll be sometime next week. But I do want to try to get it out this week, so hopefully this coming Thursday. And the penultimate episode of Flea Market Hunter will probably be this coming Saturday. And then I don't know when the final episode of Flea Market Hunter is. I would like for it to be a trip to Trader's World or something of that nature for the final episode. But we'll have to wait and see on that. It's been a hectic week because, like I said during the Starfield live stream, I think yesterday, car's broke down right now. Thinking it might be the fuel pump. Hopefully it's not the fuel pump. But I'm gonna take it into the mechanic on Tuesday, and hopefully it's just like a fuse or a relay. I'm hoping that's all it is, because that would be a hell of a lot less expensive than having to change the fucking fuel pump out. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel. Only 10 races left in the season to cover. 2 in the trucks, 4 in Xfinity, 4 in Cup. So only a month left in the season. Honestly, I cannot wait for it to fucking end. But thank you very much for watching this edition of The Fuel. And until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. See you later. Let's try that again. What's more with feeling? What's happening, ladies and watching tonight's video? If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, what's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.